live in Limbe. They don't go catch a representative of Issa Shiruma that he should come and sign that Bobia has won the election here in Limbe. Everyone is striking. They are protesting.
Surprise big people them for side so for Marwa on Tuesday where they stop school say make picking them they talk come good for power for it today but they picking them they surprise that big people the way oh man he open eye open mouth. Yes, now picking that way they say me they know they school, but they be the sing a different person in name way no even relate to the person where they supposed to go talk come good for you. Yesterday inside Marwa.
Oh. My people, the true strength of a nation is not on the election day, but the silence between the vote, the verdict, and after the verdict. That is how you measure the true strength of a nation. You've heard about the arrest of the representative of Issa Chiruma Bakari in Limbe. And young people in Garwa being asked to sing a song to the president, and they sang a song to Issa Chiruma Bakari. This is what is going on in this country right now. Because at the end of the day, I will want you to benchmark everything that I share with you here with what has happened in Cameroon, and then ask the questions. If we do things this way, should we expect a desirable outcome? Fair? In times like this is where a true leader shows up. Not with slogans, election verification. This is the time a true leader emerges and guides the people. The vulnerable, the elderly, children, women. How do you conduct yourselves in a time such as this? That we have a smooth transition if you win the election. Demonstrate maturity. I talked about a PR, get a public relation team that can communicate effectively with the public while you show up, step 2, as that leader. Not trying to prove to Pobia that you won the election, but demonstrate maturity, that you care about these people that went out there to vote for you. These steps cannot be ignored if you want to win a man like Pobia. Now, this conversation will blow your mind. We'll bring in some of the best thinkers from the Ambazonia movement. Professor Carson Anyangwe, bring in Chris Anu. Fair? We are also going to bring in Jongu Foncha, Issa Chiruma Bakari, so that we have a comprehensive perspective as to what we are dealing with here. And those from the Ambazonian camp and La République du Cameroon that do not understand the history of this country, this video will help give you perspective. If you are genuinely looking for a long-term solution to the problems that this country is going through. especially those in the Amazonian camp, there are some words that you should not use if you are seeking true liberation, because you sabotage your own movement with your mouth without knowing. It is written, life and death is in the power of the tongue, not in the power of the gun. Today we believe life and death is in the power of the gun. We'll go ahead and keep listening, but this is the time we want true leaders and not politicians. The people need care, not slogans. Let's keep listening.
Hey, hey, wonder shall never end. Look, good afternoon and good evening, my fellow Cameroonians. You stand fully with Isa Chiroma Bakari. Isa Chiroma Bakari have already won the long time stay and dictator. 43 years you are ruling. Only you, as if you are the only person in Cameroon. You jail people, you kill people. That is end of your show. You can never come back as a president of a Cameroon. That is end of the show. You cannot even, there's election you rig. When you have 10%, how can you rig election?
Those are words coming out of the mouth of the Northeast. This is not how we win. And those in the Anglophone zone, pay attention to what Isa Chiroma Bakari is about to say. This is very, very important, because when Professor Carson Anyangwe is brought into the conversation, this is going to connect. Fair? Let's go ahead and listen to Isa Chiroma Bakari's plan for the Anglophones.
Point. Outstanding one that I consider in my program is to come back to federalism. Why not? You have many countries in the world who are thriving through this form of government. I will bring together experts, constitutionalists, politicians to focus the mind on it in order to find the solution.
You've heard Isa Chiroma's plan for the Anglophones, federation. The assumption that a federation existed indicates we have a union treaty binding Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon, of which we've scanned the UN archives. We've found nothing. So the burden of proof is on Isa Chiroma Bakari, the government of Cameroon, to show us if a federal system of government existed. Now, I want you to listen to this young man, and then I will paint a picture that you never ever forget as to what we are dealing with in this country. Both the Anglophones and the Francophones alike. So pay attention. Let's listen to this young man, because if care is not taken, as we keep propagating falsehood, the foundation of this country is off. And we have to start there if we really want truth and transparency. You cannot be looking for transparency in an election when the foundation of the nation is built on falsehood. You get it? It will be rigged every time. Pobia will win every time. And you will shout and go nowhere. So let's go ahead and listen to this young man, because as we think, oh, maybe some in the Amazonian camp are old we have young people like myself and others coming after me. And those coming after me, right, will not take what Issa Churuma Bakari just dished out. We are entertaining this conversation right now because we are looking for a logical and reasonable way to solve the ills in this country peacefully. What has happened through Ambazonia for the past 9 years, this is a tip of the iceberg. Those that are coming after me will not take this kind of conversation. So let's go ahead and listen to this young man and then we'll proceed. Fair?
Because I'm from Bamenda, applying for a job in the Francophone zone means you must either be faking your French or you forget about your dreams. Of course, I'm from Bamenda. We travel to the Francophone zone to study only to get mocked by teachers for asking questions in English. Of course, I'm from Bamenda. We enter a shop and speak in English and the seller pretends not to hear. Of course, I'm from Bamenda, a land blessed with everything, but yet they still act like they can do without us. Small goes down so I don't rested one tomato for 200, but when they pretend so if you do without we cannot. Dirty nyama.
So these are real issues that young people face on a daily basis when they travel over to the Francophone zone that cannot be ignored. The foundation of this country has to be addressed. Now, let me paint a picture before we jump into Issa Churuma's visit in Bamenda. Something very important happened in Bamenda that I want you to pay attention to. And there was a lot that I said, and I think you can see it unfolding right now. Let me paint a picture of this relationship in such a way you never miss it. It's like a man and a woman relationship. Let's say Foncha is the man, Aijo is the woman. And then let's assume that the rest of Southern Cameroons are children of Foncha. And the rest of La République du Cameroon are children of Amadou Aijo. They are coming into a relationship and they have children already. Fair? Now, the plebiscite was conducted in 1961 by the UN, where we were asked, because La République du Cameroon had their independence in 1960. In 1961, we were asked by the UN, do you choose to gain independence by joining La République du Cameroon or the Federal Republic of Nigeria? We voted overwhelmingly. 70.5% of that result was positive, which affirms that we voted to join La République du Cameroon. That is interest. That doesn't make the union. That is interest to join the union. So underscore that. Now, you've heard about the famous Fumbang Conference. The Fumbang Conference was an event designed to deliberate on how that relationship will look like. Nothing substantial came out of the Fumbang Conference. It was designed for both parties to discuss the terms of that federal system of government that we were supposed to establish, because that is what we wanted. And that is what enticed us to get into this relationship. Fair? A federal system of government. Now, you've probably heard about the exchange of notes as well. So what is the exchange of notes? I want to break down the terms so that you understand how they all connect. Because without this, we will use words interchangeably, defeat our own cause without understanding what we are doing. So the exchange of notes was the transfer of administrative authority. John Owen's Field, that was the British administrator, transferred the administrative authority over to Amadou Aijo. We are coming into a relationship, but this is like that individual in that relationship that has the driver license. So we give him the car keys, but we all have access to that car. Fair? Again, this is a dating relationship, not marriage. If we are married, there will be a marriage certificate. Without a marriage certificate, you cannot say you are married. Now, you probably heard about the resolution 1608 too, and people explain it in different ways. The resolution 1608 is a very important document. But there are two key things I want to highlight in that document. Number one, the resolution 1608 affirms that the plebiscite was conducted and we voted to join La République du Cameroon. Number two, the resolution 1608 also made it clear that we have to follow through with a system of government that we will use to administer ourselves, ratify that at the UN. Ratify this federal system of government and deposit the documents at the UN. That would have been the marriage certificate. And it would have been signed between Southern Cameroons, La République du Cameroon, and Britain. We don't have that document till date. Now, we are living in a dating relationship. So the administrative power gave us the opportunity to live together. Fair, we are not married. You have a system of government where now you can go get your ID card. It's written there, Cameroon, in French and English, right? Again, a national ID is not equal to national legitimacy. Those are two distinct things. A national ID, whether it's a birth certificate is just an indication of where you were born. You can be born in China, but that doesn't make you a Chinese or a Chinese citizen. America is an exception. Fair? Now, we have lived together because some get it really confused because why? This is what you've known your whole life. Our case is very unique. I mean, very unique globally. But if not understood, we will destroy ourselves without knowing what we are doing. So that is a classic picture of this relationship. Now, when we go to vote during elections, because we don't have a union treaty, no matter what you do. Now, we have the children because Amadou Ahijo and Foncha are all dead and gone, did not ratify a union, and we are going to listen to some of the utterances of individuals like Dr. Carson Anyangwe that will help us have perspective. Because they are all dead and gone, when we go out there to vote, what we are trying to do is we are looking for a successor over a dating relationship to administer the properties in that relationship. The friction and the tension we have in this country is fundamentally rooted in the idea that there is no union treaty. That is why you see the rage in the Anglophone zone. We are not married. We don't have a marriage certificate. And now you are trying to choose a successor. Do you see how confusing it is? That is why it is very, very confusing for an Anglophone to be accepted to be president in this country. Imagine A relationship where you come together with a man, you are not married, and then you want your child that you came with from another relationship to be a successor of that man. That is really how it feels. It's weird. And you are trying to fix that house. That is what this election look like. Let me decorate the house. Let me paint it. Without that union treaty, you will always be a stranger. That is why you see the French people are confused and we think they know better. And that is what confuses me the most. We need to be guiding them because you think they know they don't know. You see size and then you're confused. This is what goes on when you go out to vote. You're trying to look for a successor. Some you wish comes from your own side to represent an illegitimate system of government. We are two separate countries that have learned to live together legally. Again, let me repeat. I said we are two separate countries that have learned over time to live together. I'll go ahead and break down some of the words that we have been using that enforces this idea consciously or subconsciously. But let's listen to Issa Chiruma Bakari. Something very important happened. Again, remember, never forget this. It's still a dating relationship. Try to own a property. Try to make some long-lasting decisions in a dating relationship. In a dating relationship, when there is a breakup, you don't go out there to invite the judge in that situation. When it's a breakup, two mature adults have a conversation and they go their separate ways. That is why going around to call the UN or maybe other African nations, that might be needed because we are dealing with a nation, but it is not necessary. A mature conversation can solve this problem, and I will break down everything and show us how. But a mature conversation, I mean, there is no African country right now that have been able to make significant progress leading themselves, talk less of leading a bilingual country. So this is something for us to understand the friction. We are wasting each other's time. And any president in Cameroon that emerges can use this one thing and remain in power forever. That I will preserve the peace in this country because there will be friction, because there's no union treaty. Fair? And so the Anglophones will always feel a certain way. And as they feel that way, there will always be tension. And the president will always use that to remain in power. So besides the King Louis XIV strategy Paul Biya is using, in as much as you use that word one Cameroon in trying to secure the peace, you can remain in power forever in Cameroon. It's that easy. And it will always come from the Francophone side. Are you getting it? That is the strategy. So Francophones, you are being robbed by most of these leaders that understand this game. And you've heard that throughout this campaign from Issa Chiruma and the rest. When they come in, they'll always be dictators. The same thing. Now, let's listen to Issa Chiruma Bakari.
I am in contact with secessionists. Yes. Do you know Chris Anu? He is a best friend of mine. We talk each other. We disagree, but we listen to each other. Alright. Before I come here, I tell him, Chris, I'm going to Bamenda, my home. Yes. You are home too. Please take care of me. Listen. So, when in the capacity as a minister, I did something which disturbed, which hurt your mind. Once again, please, I want you to forgive because I apologize.
He wants you to forgive him because he apologized. Again, when I heard this, saw Chris Anu and Issa Churuma's daughter, I said this was a blunder, right? And we are going to listen to Professor Carson Anyangwe, Dr. Carson Anyangwe, confirm that. And some of you who really want transformation, when you go around study like this, when you come here, verify. Tell people even in the comment section that what he said was accurate. Even one of the pioneers of Ambazonia does not acquiesce to that behavior. Let's fix the society. It's not about being right. Because if your whole idea is about being right, being loyal to your group, then you're not out to really solve a problem. Do you understand? I said this was a blunder. I said even in the chess game, this is off. Issa Churuma had a backlash from the Francophone side. Chris Anu had a backlash from the Anglophone side. Because that was a wrong move. Now let's listen to Professor Carson Anyangwe. He is the legal mind behind the Ambazonia movement. Fair? When Von Gorgin Dinka had the vision of Ambazonia, this was the first individual he called. And they talked about what was going on. Now they've tried their best. We'll listen to what he has to say. I will politely show you what we are missing out. I know Professor Carson Anyangwe is not a man with ego. It's probably the people in the community that feel that way. But again, we have to do better than those who came before us. So I'll make some slight corrections on the things that he said, their whole idea and thesis and their whole movement and petitions that they put out there. I'll make some slight adjustments on that so that we don't make any mistake moving forward. You understand? So let's listen to Chris Anu.
A summary. I mean, you have been in the middle of this Ambazonian struggle for all the 9 years. And you are one Ambazonian that is very, very much trusted by Ambazonians. And you have added your voice to those of us who are saying no elections, no lot of political Cameroon elections in Ambazonia. Can you take these 2 minutes to explain to the people of Ambazonia why you are against French Cameroon organizing elections in Ambazonia, please?
Okay, this is it. Let me summarize it by saying there are 4 reasons, I think, why the so-called presidential elections in French Cameroon are redundant, not important, insignificant, and of little consequence as far as Ambazonia is concerned. 1, the people of Ambazonia cannot be seen as approbating and reprobating in one and the same breath. If we did that, we would be making an ass of ourselves. We would become a laughing stock. We would be seen as a people who do not truly want decolonization, a people who do not want liberation, and a people who cannot think strategically about what they really want.
That was exactly what I said without talking with Dr. Carson Anyangwe. And I criticized the move of Chris Anu. I said that was a lame move, sir. That doesn't represent us well, sir. Do you understand what I'm saying? Why? Because I understand how international politics works. I understand how psychology works. I understand how the masses think. This is the outcome. That was a lame move. And I was clear with that. You can hear Dr. Carson confirming that. Now, when Issa Churuma Bakari visited Bamenda, Something happened that the media doesn't talk about that much because they want to always paint the impression that everything is fine. The people in Bamenda were so happy, but that is not the case. Let's take a listen. But hold on to what Dr. Carson said. It's terrible to see you, Ambazonians, associating yourself with Issa Chiroma Bakari, going out there chanting Issa Chiroma Bakari. It doesn't make sense. Again, you are pushing for illegality, a union that doesn't exist. If you think that a federal system of government existed in Cameroon, sir, provide for us the union treaty that validates that relationship. We need that. The burden of proof is on you. If not, you are in someone else's house, trying to belong, not knowing who you are. And that is what hurts me the most. To see smart Tikar people, smart Anglophones, individuals that you are supposed to be guiding. You go to them for help, and they can help themselves. They take your ideas, turn you around to be a slave, and you take that. We are supposed to be guiding these people. From every indication, they have little idea about what they are doing. And we sit here and chant, Pobia is smart. We are waiting for him to say something, do something. They should be guided to make the right decision that will benefit even them. Not only are you a descendant of Tikar, let me just slide this in. Your colonial heritage comes from Britain. These are Germanic tribes. These are the strongest tribes in Europe. The Germanic tribe. When I say Germanic tribe, I'm not talking about Germany. The Germanic tribes are predominantly made up of Germany, Britain, the United States of America. These are all Germanic tribes. France is not a Germanic tribe. But France has been greatly influenced by the Germanic tribe. If you've read about the story of Charles de Gaulle, that's one of the strongest leaders from France. He always tagged along America and Britain to be relevant in Europe. So by default, that is why you see most of the countries colonized by France don't work. So you are not only a descendant of Tikar, you also carry in you this heritage that you got from Germanic tribes. That is why you see only Britain could defeat Germany during the Second World War. France was already captured. Charles de Gaulle was making speeches abroad to defend France, ran away from his own country. We are supposed to be guiding these people. Just like you see Nigeria making waves in Africa, they also adopted that heritage from Britain. You are not supposed to be this way. If there is anything that I get to say with these videos that I'm making, is wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Stop this inferiority complex, this kind of inferiority thinking. People with a suboptimal perspective of life, you should not subject yourself under them. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. That is what rages me the most. Now, let's take a listen.
Thank you very much. May the Lord bless us. Now we are going to sing our national anthem.
One young man in the crowd in Bamenda, in our broken English, told him that there is a problem right there. Trying to sing the national anthem in Bamenda. And he could not do that. And that is the individual that we choose to lead us. I want you to step back and see what you are putting yourself under. I mean, I'm not trying to minimize others, but it hurts me to see someone that is supposed to be leading and helping everyone here, instead subjecting themselves because of size. You really believe size is what matters? If that was the case, the story of David and Goliath would not be in the Bible. If that was the case, America will not be leading the war. If size was what matters, take this off your head. Now, let's keep listening. Just one young man. This is not sophisticated grammar. But there's a problem right there. Singing that national anthem here. That is a classic indication that we are not part of this country, and you have to respect that. Don't come around here to play politics. Most of these politicians need to go study the history of this country. Understand law. Understand all these terminologies. They don't know what a union treaty is. They don't know what federalism really is. How can you claim that you had federalism and we don't have any legally binding document that indicates the federal system of government was in motion here? What kind of society are we building? For real? What kind of country, what kind of wall are we building? Just go stay with a man or go stay with a woman. Don't sign any marriage contract. Just do as you want. The day they decide that they want polygamy here, the day they get up and say, oh, I want to marry another woman, I want to transfer my property to maybe a stranger. Just fold your arms and watch that. Try to be peaceful under that environment. You are still dating. At the maximum is engagement. That is not marriage. When we face truth, God cannot walk in a system like this. God is a God of order. You cannot call on God's blessings in ignorance. You cannot call on God's blessings in a situation like this and God answers you. What do you want God to do? No, let me ask you, those of you praying. The first thing God did when he brought the children of Israel out of Egypt was establish a covenant with them. That is contract. Gave them his laws, 10 commandments. Contract. Covenant. God doesn't dwell in illegality. He doesn't dwell in ignorance. He doesn't bless his ignorance. So you going out there to pray and hope that God blesses this election when the foundation of this nation is cracked. God is not in it. You don't know God well. You have an impression about God and not God himself. Do you understand? You have an impression about God. Ask La République du Cameroon if there is a document binding us in this relationship. If it doesn't exist, then what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your time? Convenience, compromise, acting like you don't know, justification? None. But let's keep listening. There's a lot for you to learn in this video. A lot. And after this, we will jump into words so that people in this country understand the kind of words to use, words not to use. Like the referendum, federal system, cessation, what those words actually mean. And why you should not use those words. Because those words hold you bound. Life and death is the power of the tongue. not the gun. Let's keep listening.
Now they hire this. No. This is the ballot.
Now we will continue listening to Dr. Carson Anyangwe. Why you, as an Anglophone, should not participate in this electoral process in Cameroon. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you don't know your rights, you can be a slave in a house that you own. And not know it. Let's keep listening.
The second reason is that Ambazonian participation makes no difference in the election's outcome, which has already been predetermined by French Cameroon. In French Cameroon, it is not voting that matters. It is the counting of the votes and officially announcing the results. 3, the French Cameroon colonial occupier will eventually come to a negotiation table the moment the scales fall off its eyes. And this has always happened to all colonization, whether France in Algeria, Ethiopia and Eritrea, Portugal in Portuguese colonies, or whether you're talking of Sudan and South Sudan, America and the Vietnamese, all eventually come to a negotiation table when the scales fall off from the eyes. And it will happen in the case of French Cameroon. The final reason, the fourth one which I see, is that the concept and practice of free, fair, and safe elections are a stranger to French Cameroon. People tend to forget that it is us, Ambazonians, who introduced in French Cameroon the very idea of free and fair elections, the very idea of multipartyism, the very idea of an electoral law, the very idea of an independent electoral commission. They do that, but they don't know. Since they don't know the concept, they'll not be able to use it, not be able to organize things according to plan.
What Dr. Carson just said is a fair assessment of the thinking capacity of our Francophone counterparts. And that is so true. There are many things you can't help them understand, because the culture that they inherited and what they have become today, they don't have the reasoning capacity to grasp these concepts. So they need to be educated in the process. They need to be trained in the process. They need to follow and not lead in the process to have a civilized society. Democracy is a foreign concept to them. That is why you see most French states across the world have failed. So these people need to step back and follow and not lead, and educate themselves out of this system that they have inherited. Black people here. And you have to understand that, you Anglophone, that you are supposed to help them. Don't be confused by the guns. We have to tell some of these people, chill, including the Ataganji that has joined this system and is doing all those things. You guys calm down and help them free themselves from this kind of ignorance. Doesn't make sense. With all humility, what are you doing? No, stop. This is the way to do things. Follow it. It's not to be debating and arguing. No, sir, this is the right way. And sometimes this is what we get mixed up in, like, because everybody has an opinion, and even the ignorant ones want to be heard when their ideas is destroying everyone around us. No, you follow instruction. That is what makes this country work. People know when they come across someone that knows better than them, and they shut up and they follow instructions. Some, when they come around and they see a white folk, they will submit. But when you turn around, you see a black man, you want to be arrogant. Say, no, stop that nonsense. Follow instructions. Because that is one of the biggest challenges that we have. You will see a black brother doing something amazing or a black sister doing something amazing, and they bring you close to them and they give you instructions. You want to be opinionated, you want to be opinionated, you want to have ideas, you want to destroy what they are trying to build instead of taking instructions and having your own life blessed in the process. Gotta take them and tell them, you stop, sir, this is the way to do things. This is how you run an election. And this is why it works. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Follow the instructions. How can we be online today, my people, debating about a 92-year-old man in power in Cameroon, and we are trying to make sense of this electoral process, trying to team up to see how we can beat Pobia? Really? I mean, we are the only ones that can let ourselves be treated this way. It's a choice. It starts with thinking. To believe that a Francophone man is superior to you, that is a mental conditioning, because we believe in the guns and not in words, not in thinking, not in rationality. Fair? Let's keep listening.
So French Cameroon has never, even during the time of French rule, been able to organize any free and fair election. It's not going to happen now. So for those several reasons, I don't think it's important for us to get involved in French Cameroon politics.
Wonderful. What do you think? What do you make of the argument I had Rebecca Enonchong here recently, and Eric Chinje, and a few others who think who are of the opinion that Ambazonia has a chance. Ambazonia has an opportunity to help take out Bia and then negotiate with whoever wins. In this case, Issa Chiruma.
No, I don't think so. Like I said, you're not Ambazonia voting is not going to take out Bia, because, as I said, it is not the voting that matters. It's the counting on the vote and proclamation. French Cameroon will count the vote. Their Constitutional Commission will proclaim the result. Full stop. Amazonia is irrelevant on that issue.
What I want to make some adjustments to on what Dr. Carson Anyangwe said, and also help our people have perspective. Number one, if we want transformation, use plain language. This academic rhetoric confuses everyone. And to say we participating in the election and it's the counting of the election that matters, that is not an accurate statement to make. We should not participate in the election at all because we are not legal citizens of this country. Let it be clear. We are not legal citizens in this country. And so we should not be participating in their elections. It's not whether they will count the election well or they will do the right thing. No, we are not legally. We have to be as clear as possible. Now, my people, again, remember the dating relationship, never forget that. We are not yet married, so there is no marriage certificate. So how can I participate in choosing a heir to your throne when I'm not legally bound to you? The Anglophones are fighting today because The man on the other side has children that have grown, want to have control over the properties of their father. And then the children of this woman that he was dating want to interfere in the business of this man's children. And they are like, wait, you, okay, have to remember that your mother never got married to my father. That is what we are dealing with here. We don't need the United Nations. We don't need to kill ourselves for the UN to come save us. This is something we need to put education in the minds of these people as much as possible. Have individuals that can speak French, speak this knowledge into every Francophone, if they will find peace even in their own country. This is the realization, because when we make things this easy, our people are united, understand who they are. We are not confused with jargons. Action will happen. Unity. We will be congruent and we will make progress. Because it starts with true speech. From true speech, and then we'll have justice. And La Republique will slowly take their militaries out from our land, back to their land, and we establish a functioning system here. Let's stay away from jargons. Because when people use a lot of jargons, it makes me question what you are saying. Especially if I'm looking at the Ambazonian young man in Furawa. If we speak in this way, will he understand what you're saying? You see what I'm saying? And we want transformation. I don't want to impress anyone. Fair? So, I heard some saying we will do a referendum. A referendum. The plebiscite was conducted because we were a trusteeship territory under the United Nations. They had some administrative authority over us. In the case of La République du Cameroon and us, we don't need a referendum. That is you saying they have power over you, which legally it doesn't exist. These words are not just political, they are legal. Now, let's run over some words that we have been using and how these words have led to our own downfall, and then we are going to listen to Mola Joe Litumbe. Now, the number one word is the word reunification. So it implies there was once a lawful union and we are reuniting. In fact, no treaty was ever signed. So we cannot use the word reunification. Take that word out of your vocabulary. Reunification. Number two, federalism or federation. So when you use that word federation, what you do is you accept that one state already exists and only needs internal reform. So this erases the restoration argument. We are looking for restoration here and not federation. There is a distinction. So be careful when you use these words. These are words you should not use. I'm going to provide for you, especially our bloggers, our YouTubers, all those who have energy and they are out there trying to make sure the world hears us and guide our people. Pay attention to this. So stay away from the word reunification. Stay away from the word federalism, federation. Number three, two-state federation. So it is the same problem. It admits one republic containing two states instead of two co-equal nations. We are two co-equal nations. It's not about size. You get it? So get that word out of your vocabulary. It's very important because you use it, the international community hears it, your own people are even confused because a confused speech will confuse even your movement. And this is important more than a gun. Now, another word to stay away from is the word referendum. So it means asking permission within La Republique's jurisdiction. That turns a restoration into cessation when you use the word referendum. You understand? Who is the one to oversee the referendum? And what is the purpose of the referendum? So you've seen the implication of that word. These words are not just political, they are legal. And it's like the law of gravity. It will hit you whether you like it or not. If you jump from a story building, you will come down. So the words that you use will either lead you towards your victory or keep you in the same system looping your entire life and you don't know why. And you think it's because you don't have the right gun, because you don't have the right words. Now, another word to stay away from is the word cessation or breakaway or independence. Stay away from those words. What does it imply? It suggests we are living a validly constituted state. So this state is validly constituted and we are living that state, of which there is no union treaty. This is law. This is not emotion. This is not sentiment. If you don't know it, you will not go and have the UN tell you this. You have to study for yourself. Get the best legal experts, brainstorm with them, and arrive at a conclusion. If not, you have charlatans deceive you and you wonder that this is 9 years. Why are we not having clarity on this struggle? We are confused because we grew up in this system. Clarity, clear thinking. Now, so it indicates that we are living a validly constituted state, not restoring a suspended one. So the correct legal category is deoccupation or restoration. I prefer that word. Use the word restoration and not the word cessation. And I'll go on to benchmark with other countries that you should not align your course with them as well. You pick even the wrong example and use to reference your situation. My brother, that is you putting a bullet on your own leg. Another word not to use is divorce or marriage. Don't use that word. And Mola Joel Lintube uses the word marriage. You can say marriage. In order for a marriage to be asserted, you must prove with a marriage certificate. Without a marriage certificate, you can never say marriage legally. This is law. If you come together and there is no legally binding document, you say break up. You don't say divorce. This is grammar and this is law. This is politics. Now, so when you say divorce, marriage, it implies a lawful contract existed that now needs to be dissolved. That is what you do when you use those words. So a good metaphor, but it is legally self-defeating. It's a good metaphor, but it is legally self-defeating. You are defeating your own self through the words that you use. So stay away from the word divorce, marriage, or 61 union. Another word to stay away from is crisis or conflict in Cameroon. These words are dangerous. So it frames it as an internal civil conflict. This is not an internal civil conflict we are dealing with. This is a people looking out to restore their nation legally. Now, so when you use the word it becomes like a civil conflict, not an international question of incomplete decolonization. This is an international question of incomplete decolonization. This is not a crisis, a conflict in Cameroon. And when you use those words, that is why Issa Chiruma came to Bamenda and said, I'm in touch with cessationists. No, sir. That was the wrong word to use. Why? Because he doesn't know the history of this country. Politician. Remember, a politician thinks about the next election. A leader thinks about the next generation. That is why everything that I am looking at here matters. Because we are looking at the next generation. Now, Anglophone problem, stay away from that word. So it reduces a question of sovereignty to a linguistic or minority right dispute. So when we are calling it Anglophone crisis or Anglophone problem, it reduces this question to that of sovereignty to a linguistic issue. We are dealing with sovereignty here, not linguistics here. So that is why when we say Anglophone crisis, we put it in quotes. Does that make sense? So another word to stay away from is the Cameroon crisis, Northwest, Southwest crisis, all of this. It keeps Southern Cameroons inside Cameroons conceptually and denies its separate legal identity. When we use all of this rhetoric, dialogue, national dialogue, negotiation with government, you understand? It's not clearly defined as international mediation between two entities. When you use the word dialogue, national dialogue, they will come on the table and dialogue with us. No, so it implies a domestic dispute under Yaoundé's authority. When you use dialogue, national dialogue, negotiation with government, fair, this is how you subject yourself, screw up your own self while you're looking for restoration, while you're looking for legitimacy, sovereignty. Distinction. Very important. So peace talks with Cameroon. You've heard words like that. We use that. Peace talks with Cameroon. So it's the same issue. It frames it as an internal reconciliation. When you say peace talks, instead of an interstate decolonization. That is what we are dealing with here. It's an interstate decolonization. Decolonization. So use those words. Restoration, decolonization, fair, sovereignty, legitimacy. Those are real words to use to describe your problem. And the last is integration or assimilation. We've used words like that. So it suggests we are reforming coexistence rather than ending occupation. When you use the word integration, assimilation. Now, what are the words that dilute the legal argument? So the words that dilute the legal argument includes expressions such as unity, national unity. The problem is it accepts the idea of one Cameroon. When you talk about unity, national unity, they use that one Cameroon agenda without knowing it. Again, these people need to be guided. Don't see a Francophone from today and think that most of them know what they are doing. Guide them. When you meet them one-on-one, guide them. Take that arrogance out and guide them on what to do so that they can be free to. You understand? It's not about size. Now, autonomy, regionalism, decentralization. You've heard words like that. Are they familiar? Fair, yeah. So it moves the argument to domestic reform, not international law. When you use the word autonomy, regionalization, or decentralization. So we move the argument to some domestic reform, which really is counter our movement. Fair? So when you hear words like return to Federation of 1961, there was no legally completed federation to return to. We are not returning to anything. If we return to a federation, that means there's a legal binding treaty that we will return to. And that is what Issa Chiruma Bakari is saying. And that's why I say they need to be educated. about politics, English, they should be guided on these terminologies, how to use them appropriately, because it is very misleading. You get it? So returning to federation, there was no federation. The burden of proof is on you. Show us the document that validates a federation, the Union Treaty that validates a federation. A draft constitution is not a Union Treaty. Don't get things twisted. Another one is symmetrical federation or asymmetrical federation. So it still presumes one republic. When you use words like symmetrical federation or asymmetrical federation, so it still presumes one republic, and that is not the case. When we tackle these issues well, even La République du Cameroon will be blessed. They will have an amazing nation. We will have an amazing nation, and we will thrive in this area well. Do you get it? God will bless us. All of us will be fine. Than having one from La République du Cameroon emerge, becomes a dictator, confuses everyone that he's out here to hold the nation together and preserve the peace. And we are looking up to them to preserve the peace, and they become tyrants and dictators forever, and everybody here suffers. Any leader that emerges and say they will preserve peace, they are here for unity, and it's not, they don't have a vision, they don't have a strategy. Issa Churuma is talking about a 3 to 6 years plan. And he says it transitions. What is the long-term strategy for the next 20, 30 years? After 6 years, what next? What next? And the last one is constitutional dialogue or constitutional reforms. So it treats the matter as a policy debate inside Cameroon, not restoration between two sovereign entities. This is the language people use, and our people have used most of these words to describe our problem, which limits us psychologically, because this is what we believe about our conditions through the words that we share around the world. Expect international communities to support us when we show up before diplomats and we use words like this. The federation was dissolved in 1972. So that indicates a federation exists. You can't prove that, and yet you say a federation was dissolved. We came into a federal system in 1961. You have to prove that a federal system exists. Without proving that, they look at you as someone that you don't know what you're talking about. They cheated you in what? Do you see people who break up in a relationship going around saying they were cheated and they demand justice? It's rare. But if they are married, oh, it will be on TV. A divorce. Now the woman wants half of the wealth. You will see that on TV. It's rare for you to see anything like that with a dating relationship. Do you know why? Because we deal in a world that is governed by laws. Not emotions, not that you get into a relationship with a goodwill. Imagine we do this in marriage. We do this in a one-on-one relationship. And then this is a country and there's no legally binding document. And you want us to dance around this, go vote in this, and then somehow salvation will come. My people, you understand what I'm saying? We go back to the law. Look at what was supposed to be done that is not done, and understand why God will punish or allow the devil to mess up with the people here, while one of them emerges and say, I want to hold the peace, and now they are a dictator, and we are a laughing stock across the world of having a record of the oldest serving, the longest serving president in the world. And we gather now and say, how do we go fight it? No, let's fix our foundation. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine when we address this foundation. You get what I'm saying? And every Francophone that wants peace in their own household, this is time for you to unite and we start making adjustments on this. You don't have to sit and say you're waiting for some so-called government that knows what they are doing to everyone around here. at the expense of your own children's future and our own children's future. The words that align with our movement include a restoration of sovereignty. Write that down. We are restoring our sovereignty. Write that down. So it is a reversion, right? Rectification. That's a good one. Continuity of statehood. That is a good one. Deoccupation. That is a good word. Completion of decolonization. Write all of those words down. Never forget them. Try as much as possible to use these words in your communication, in your blogging. If you're doing YouTube videos, you're writing a blog post, put this word in there if you're defending the restoration of former Southern Cameroons. If you're working with us in the Tikar project, you make sure that these are the words that you get to use. Fair? So, reactivation of international personality, that is a good one. Restoration of the former UN trust territory of Southern Cameroons, that is a good one. Assertion of self-government under international law, that is a good one. So when you name a lie with the tongue of truth, you give it life. Again, when you name a lie with the tongue of truth, you give that lie life. So the first act of restoration is to restore language itself. So you start by restoring your speech. It will give you momentum. Fair? Every word must affirm separate sovereignty, unfinished decolonization, and the end of occupation. Again, let me repeat. Every word that we use throughout this liberation process must include separate sovereignty, unfinished decolonization, and the end of occupation. Every time. Fair? So let's go ahead and listen to Mola Joe Litumbe, and then we will look at the examples of the countries that you should be looking up to if you really want this change.
Called Southern Cameroon is already sharing legislative, the executive, and the judicial power with La République.
No, I think I may come in and correct you there a little bit. The UN said that in sharing executive power equally, this means that if the country has only one president, that post alternates from one side to the other, because the idea was that even the small territory should taste the sweet honey of independence. Now, therefore, in order to be deemed to be independent, if there was only one president, that position alternated from one side to the other. That if in one term the president comes from La République to Cameroon, the next term around the president should come from Southern Cameroon.
All right, you want a Southern Cameroonian to be the president of this country?
Yes, well, this ought to have been arranged as far back as 49 years ago. Throughout the association so-called with La République du Cameroon, we have never tasted executive power.
And that is your struggle now?
Yes. That
you have changed your struggle. Why? Initially, yes, you were going for secession, independence of Southern Cameroons. Now you are looking for recognition.
No. My position.
One thing I want you to pay attention right there is when we are not clear about our problem. You see how it confuses the journalists? Right? When we are not clear about exactly what we want. Like Professor Carson Anyangwe said, there are 4 points. We are not supposed to participate in this election. And then he went on to say, oh, because the election will be rigged. Because it is the counting that matters. This is confusing already. Now, you want cessation. Oh, we wanted equal power. I mean, we have to be clear about what we want. There is no union treaty. So there is no legal document binding us to this union. We want 100% restoration of our sovereignty. Fair? With that, everyone goes around with a clear message. We were never married. This was dating. It is breakup. We don't need international community. We don't need some so-called legal minds to tell our public we want to set up our own administrative system here. We don't need your administrative system. And we strategically boycott every one of their systems while establishing ours. That is the next step, while educating them in the process. That is what needs to happen. Not debating back and forth, having some dialogue with them on what? When it will be hard for them to even reason and understand what you're saying. No, you guide them to stay on their own side. We will still be friends and we'll still be partners, we'll still be neighbors. But if I leave you in this ignorance, you will destroy your own self and destroy me. All these young boys that you keep trying to train and put guns in their hands, they should be engineers or business owners trying to help solve some problems in the Francophone zone, not running over here. Do you understand? Now let's keep listening.
The position has not changed one bit, because having a grievance, you go to a tribunal to settle differences of opinion. So Southern Cameroonians went to the African Commission and said that our rights are being trampled upon by La République du Cameroon.
Are on the wrong side of the struggle?
No, they are perfectly entitled to say so, because for 49 years, the terms of joining, as stipulated by the United Nations, have not been observed by La République du Cameroon. So the other party is saying, if you are not going to respect international law and order, then there is no reason for us to be with you.
Respect international law and order, my people. You can only respect a union treaty. The resolution 1608 affirms the result of the plebiscite. It is not a union treaty. Exchange of notes is not a union treaty. Without understanding this, my people, let me share a story with you. People can loop in issues like this for even 200 years. 200 years without clarity. You get it? In the 17th century, during the Industrial Revolution, Britain produced some fancy stuff, telescopes. They went to China. Like, open up your doors for trade. The Chinese emperor, Qianlong, said, we are not interested in your goods. We don't want to do business with you, Britain. Take your things away. Britain turned around, left. King George got the news and he was confused. But do you know what happened afterwards? That refusal to engage in business, trade, international trade, locked China from the war for more than 183 years. 183 years, China was in darkness, hunger, starvation. Terrible system of government. Communism was eating up China. Until 1978, when Deng Xiaoping, the new leader in China, went to Japan, saw what the Meiji reform did in Japan, came to America, saw the amazing technology and the environment, everything was amazing for him. He went back and reformed his economic policies in China. Told his people it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white. As long as he can catch a mice, he said it was a good cat. China reformed the economic policies, right? The Chinese Communist Party is made up of engineers, predominantly, not politicians, with sweet talk, but engineers. They started building stuff. So the modern China you see today is not a mistake. But my point is, 183 years gone because they had a closed mind, not thinking clearly on our problem as Anglophones, as Cameroonians, looking at us in the Tikar land, understanding who we are and who you are, how we came together and what has happened with us over time. This can keep us in this loop for more than 200 years. It is very possible. And you just go about your day, eat your food, have a drink, come back home, sleep, wake up the next day, the same problem hasn't gone away. Clear thinking. Fair? Let's keep listening.
Meanwhile, you are saying we want to be with you, but recognize us.
No. The people of Southern Cameroon, in the plebiscite of February 1961, voted overwhelmingly to join their brothers in La République du Cameroon. I have not shifted from that position. But the terms of joining were that they were to join in accordance with the provisions set out by the UN Charter. Now, that UN organization stipulates the methodology of joining,
which you've already mentioned.
Yes.
You've made it abundantly clear.
Yes.
I have talked to several people who are involved in this struggle.
Yes.
They believe that what we are fighting for is independence.
Yes.
Now, you are saying we want recognition in Cameroon, sharing of power.
Yes.
You said, that's what you said. That's what
yes.
it's clear.
Yes.
Is this not division?
No, it isn't. You see,
this is the argument that has kept the Ambazonians in this loop, not heard internationally. Immediately you bring in sharing power, recognition. You see the problem with the choice of words that people use, right? It locks you in the same cage you're trying to break out of. Words. This was not the gun, right? Just words. What you said locked you in there. You have to be clear with exactly what you want. Clarity. You get it? Because if you say the UN resolution said we should establish this system of government, right? That was what the UN resolution proposed that we do to ratify a union. We never did that. And so there is no legal binding document that ratifies this union between La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon. So you see how clear I am with my position from the beginning to the end. There is no confusion. You won't hear me jump in and say, oh, the federal system was abolished. Oh, and so today we feel marginalized because oil was discovered in the Southwest. And so they changed. We don't go with all of that. You get it? The UN was clear after the plebiscite. The resolution 1608 said, go ahead. We accept that we've seen the result. It's positive. So you're going the side. Fair. Go ahead and complete the process. Sit down, have a conversation. The tripartite conference, the Fumban conference was designed to arrive at that conclusion. You ratify that union, come back and submit it at the UN. That will make this relationship legally binding. Whether Aijo wanted to play smart, right? And at the end of the day, it's going to backfire on him. And you see, he lost his position, ended up in exile. When you try to play smart or try to downplay others or screw others up. So at the end of the day, there is nothing. We did not ratify that union treaty, did not deposit it at the UN, and so there is no legal document, and so we cannot even assert that a federal system of government existed in Cameroon to begin with. So what are we going back to? Right? And that already established the premise why there will always be tension here, and the only way is for La République du Cameroon gradually, slowly get your military, your administrative system that doesn't even align with us out of our land. You get it? It is affecting what we thought we should be doing with our lives, with our community, and with our people. Clear thinking, consistency. If not, you go before a journalist like that, you dabble like that. Some might not ask you questions, but if they ask you questions, immediately you find loopholes within what you are saying. Now, let's keep listening.
If people get together, a husband, a man, and a woman, and they sign an agreement that this marriage between us is monogamous, and when the man is made a chief, he says a chief does not just marry one woman, he takes on other women. The wife whom he got in monogamous wedlock has a right to complain. She can go to court and say, my husband has broken the terms of the marriage.
That now asserts there is a marriage certificate. There is a union treaty, and you have to prove that. This is law. We don't use marriage. And I told you earlier, this is a dating relationship. It's break up. If we had a union treaty, let's use marriage. If we didn't have a union treaty, we use dating. Maximum engagement. If we want to go around the idea of exchange of notes, or if you want to even look at the resolution 1608, we can talk about engagement. And if an engagement ends, it is still break up. When Joseph was engaged to Mary, and the idea of the Holy Spirit coming into her, and she was pregnant, the man said, I did not impregnate this woman. And he was making preparations to let her go. It is not divorce. We were still planning to get married. You see, language, clarity, and you can come around with PhDs, doctorate degrees, people go left and right, the white man doesn't like us. No, clarity. You've heard it, the same mixture from our honorable doctor to Molanjo Litumbe, the same mixture. If you listen to Gonjin Dinka, the same thing. The same mixture. And with that, the international community looks at it. They won't want to make you feel bad because they like you, but I know what is going on here, and I'm the only one and looking at us, and I will tell us the truth because I don't want us to keep messing up. No, that argument and that logic is not clear. Clarity. And your examples are very important. Now, let's finish the tape, and then, but is this blessing you? Yeah, is this blessing you? Yeah, this is how we make sense of our story, my people. We'll be free. I bet you we will be free and we will be fine. We'll have a great, amazing nation, as well as La Republic will have theirs. We'll go on to be friends. And if you can forgive Issa Chuma Bakari, you will forgive your own Anglophone brothers, even in the family that you're angry with, and make peace. Let's keep listening.
If he is prepared to behave the way that we came together originally, I will stay. Now, that is the position.
And that is your position.
That is
your position.
That is the position that if La République du Cameroon were to come tomorrow and say, we are very sorry, we made a mistake in this whole thing. We were to share power, that if the president comes from one side this time, next time he must come from the other side. We are very sorry. We'll say, all right, since you have already pocketed all the three powers over the last 49 years, are you now prepared that Southern Cameroon should exercise those powers for the ensuing 49 years? Because it was a balancing equation.
Okay, that's what you want to dialogue with the government.
Exactly. And if you have a dispute with someone, you don't fight over it. You go to a tribunal, somebody independent who would listen to both sides.
I think we are adults. You see, in most dating relationships, when it's not working, the adults have a conversation, they go their separate ways, right? We don't maybe go to court. At most, we might involve a friend or a relative. But this is something I think we can demonstrate maturity here, have an adult conversation, or through messages like this, they listen and start making adjustments. Maybe we don't even need to be talking, just get the military out of our land, fair, and let's set up systems that work for ourselves. Because to say we want 55 years to rule, have the top positions in this system since you've had that, no, we will count this as sunk cost, right? In business, we call it sunk cost. This is loss. We've really lost all these years. We accept that and start from here and build. We don't want to be inside of that system. It's hard functioning in there. They have something going on. They should continue with that. And we go ahead and build a society that we believe in. But you see, clarity. I'm not going to go at some point and say, oh, yeah, maybe they switch around and give us maybe 55 years to rule. We don't play like that. Straight up, what do you want? This is what happened. We've seen everything that has happened in the relationship. But the initial cause of all these problems right up to this point is because there was no union treaty. If there was a union treaty, we would have referenced that. We would have gone before the UN showing them what was written in that union treaty that is not being followed, that is not being obeyed, that is being violated. We would have done that. Maybe because it doesn't exist, let's stay there. We just stay on that one point, right? Yeah, if there was, so because there was no legal contract, you can come to my shop and I have a receipt to this phone. I own this phone and you walk away with this phone, even paying me money, you walk away with this phone. If you didn't receive a receipt, we can reclaim that phone. That is why you take a receipt when you leave the shop. As proof that you bought. There is no receipt that can be shown for this transaction. There is no certificate that can be shown for this transaction. There is no union treaty that can be shown for this transaction. So this is an issue of truth, not just legality, honesty that will free the people in this entire area. Or else, keep trying to think that the next election that perpetuates illegality will free this country. Keep trying. God doesn't operate in things like this. No. Only dictatorship till you wake up. And the ignorant ones among us that go ahead trying to participate in this election, I mean, now you understand. I don't mean this in any offensive way, but you get it. Sometimes I shout at us, and that is just me. It doesn't mean that I'm angry, but I just want, like, let's do something. Let's be better. We have so much in us. I believe in us. Let's keep listening.
And then deliver a verdict.
Now, if this doesn't stop, you might think you see us now and the older ones in the Amazonian movement. No, the next group that are coming after us, you won't have peace here. They are learning. Some of them will be doctors. Some of them will be lawyers. Some of them will be critical thinkers. Some of them will be warriors. Just adjust this issue right now and let's part ways and go on to live good lives together as neighbors. Let's listen to this young man because he represents the future. Take a listen.
Just court cases every day, not just because we are guilty, but because we can't say Yenesepa in French correctly. Of course, I'm from Bamenda. Applying for a job in the Francophone zone means changing your language, changing your name, and also changing your accent, hoping that they don't ask you to do because once a year, lo Bamenda, your sleep was your CV will automatically go to sleep. Of course, I'm from Bamenda. We ran away from gunshot and insecurity just to come to the Francophone zone and be treated like strangers in our own country.
Treated like strangers in our own country. No, it's not your country. And as they start understanding the truth, these young people will not rest. You will have no peace. Not only that, our ancestors will terrorize you. Like I said, they are awake. If you are not careful, this country might get into a civil war as we speak. And thousands of people will go down. Right? And remember, my people, when the coup was staged, I think Issa Chiruma Bakari remembers quite well. When a coup was staged against the state, almost 1,000 people died. Some people were placed on firing squads to teach the rest a lesson so that they never tried again. It was brutal. That is what a dictatorship system produces. But you get to understand that without facing the truth, and we want to stay around having fun, enjoying, having a good time at the expense of others, suffering. The God of the Tikar is awake. Pain will visit you. Remember what happened to Pharaoh? He had to suffer dearly. His entire country paid for trying to hold steadfast to the Israelites when God wanted them to leave Egypt. So that is how your land is going to look like. We are going to go ahead and listen to John Go Foncha. He makes it so clear, that syncs everything together so that you don't miss it. And then I will read with us the countries that reflect our story. And before we read the countries that reflect our story, Eritrea's story is not our story, because you get confused. Their situation was tense more than ours. The example that you look up to will become your story, because we just went around and looked at every nation that fought for their independence and picked that story. You see how long it takes us? Clarity. Eritrea they had a UN approved federation with Ethiopia in 1952. Then Ethiopia unilaterally annexed it in 1962. Eritrea fought 30 years of war and later held a referendum, right? Surprised by the UN after they fought. And that was what we were looking at. Oh, if we kill more people, like we looked at Sudan and all of that. If we kill more people, that will happen. That was Eritrea's story. So when you look at the legal category, so it was secession after a broken federation. That is Eritrea's story. It is not our story. So Eritrea's independence case from leading a legal federation, right? Southern Cameroon never had one to leave. We don't have a federation that is legally binding to leave. Clarity. Now, South Sudan is another example we use. So the regional inside in Sudan gained autonomy under the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in 2005 and independence through a referendum in 2011. So it was secession by mutual consent. So South Sudan was part of a recognized state. Southern Cameroons was never merged in law with La République du Cameroon. Clarity. Another case is Biafra. We saw one of the Ambazonian leaders with the Biafrans. Your story is not that of Biafra. Your story is not similar to that of Biafra. So Biafra in eastern region of Nigeria declared independence in 1967, suppressed by federal war in 1970. So it is internal, that is the legal category. It is internal secession, which is a civil war, right? Biafra was within Nigeria's constitutional borders. Southern Cameroons was a UN trust territory, not an internal region in La République du Cameroun. So don't let all these regions that they use from province to region confuse you. Northwest, southwest, all of this. No, don't we use that for conversation, but we should change our speech even with that. Fair? Now, Kosovo was a province inside Yugoslavia. Serbia declared independence in 2008, recognized by some states, not all. So what is the legal category? Secession from a parent state. So same issue. Kosovo broke away from within, not a restoration of suspended sovereignty. Ours is a restoration of suspended sovereignty. So Eritrea, Sudan, Biafra, Kosovo, they have common features. They all required permission, negotiation, or forced to leave a legally constituted state. Ours is different. And let us listen to Foncha, and then I show you what ours look like. And you start using these examples in your videos and in your blogs. So sometimes when we see our own people confused, running back into this system, trying to participate in this system, it's because the speech is confusing, the story is confusing, there's no clarity. Fair?
We the Anglophones were always blamed whenever things are going wrong in the country, but the Francophones, they're always taking credit when everything is going smoothly in the country. Of course, I'm from Bamenda. They call us the Bamenda. They minimize us, but creativity and talent still runs in our blood. Dirty, Nyama.
Now let's go ahead and listen to John Gu Foncha briefly explain everything that I've said, because this is how you benchmark. You get into the founders. That is the John Gu Fonchas. One sentence that they make helps you understand everything within the timeline of the struggle. And then you clarify your thought and make a constructive argument. It's not sophisticated rhetoric, but clarity in thinking and a case that you present that someone can't argue. Now let's take a listen.
You promised that we were coming back, fixed the date, we were coming back in August to read and sign. In August, as I was the Prime Minister of the Southern Cameroon, we were dealing only with an interim federal government or an interim members of the House which we subscribed, but there was no parliament so called before the 1st of October. And if he uses that one to talk something about the federation to be born on the 1st of October, and to the best of my knowledge, it did not appear to me that that was going to precede the legalization of the draft constitution.
That we were dealing with an interim federal system of government. Interim. Draft constitution. He used the draft constitution while we were operating under an interim federal system of government to ratify a union. And so it is not legally binding. And that is why that document was not signed, not sent to the UN. Whatever he had going on that made him not to follow that process to the end, we get to law. We were dealing with an interim federal system of government. You understand that? Don't ever miss this again. Let's keep listening.
So the very August, I had to go back to him and remind him about the resumed constitution. when he did not answer me in September, I reminded him. But unfortunately, on 1st of October, I used the draft to declare federation and unification, which did not finish and must come back.
He used the draft constitution. My people, this means is a contract that we were supposed to study, accept the terms of that contract, go on to sign that contract. It will be legally binding. And so with that, it would have not been easy to dissolve the so-called federation that never existed. At least we'll have something to go back to if we have to follow the language Issa Chiruma Bakari is making, because nothing existed. We have nothing to go back to. Do you understand now? This is law. We have nothing to go back to. And you take this message and make sure every La Republic son and daughter knows what is happening in their land, in their lives, and the curse some of their leaders is bringing upon their land and that of their children. And those from our land that are participating in this government without knowing what they are doing, understand the curse they are bringing upon themselves. Because pain will be on this country for a very long time. When we see truth like this, you either choose to act blind, be a coward, be ignorant, deliberately, right? Compromise, or justify your actions. Consequences are all building. Now let's keep listening.
So there things went wrong. And by the 64, he had already made up his mind, scattered the and already more or less got into the main cadre of the KNDP and tried to scatter all.
So by 1964, everything was really destroyed. It's not 1972 because there was no foundation. And since then, everything has been in the wind till date. And this is how you make sense of your story. Now, my people, this is what our story looks like. Again, Eritrea, Kosovo, South Sudan, Biafra, that is not your story. These are countries that it succeeded. By the way, they succeeded to break away with the exception of Biafra. But South Sudan, Eritrea succeeded to break away out of a nation they were part of. That is not our story. We don't use that to be our story. We were a UN trust territory. La République du Cameroon had their independence in 1960. We were supposed to have our independence by joining them under a ratified union, a ratified federal system of government, a ratified federal document. Because that doesn't exist, because that process was not completed, we don't have any legal document binding us with La République du Cameroon. So we don't need the UN that much. All we need the UN is to supervise what we do. We don't need the UN to really come help us. UN was done with their business over there. Britain was done with their business. Our people have gone to Britain. They said, we were done with our business over there. So it is time for you to educate the La République people. That education is more important than guns. We will not instruct the young people to lay down the guns. They will hold their guns while we educate the citizens of La République, educate their military, educate their people from this falsehood that will bring calamity over their land, to make adjustments or bear the consequences, both spiritually and physically. That you are a deceptive black man that want to perpetuate falsehood in this area so that you can remain in power while everyone remains in captivity. That is the message. Any of your leader that emerges and say, I want to hold peace here, question their motive. What is your vision? What is your purpose to becoming president? Where are you taking us to? We are tired of hearing that peace and unity and one Cameroon. Where are you taking us to? We are just getting out of 42 years. What will the next 42 look like for us? What is the truth about this country? How was this country created? We know we had a bloody experience before 1960. That's what you guys had with the UPC thing. But sir, we will not live in fear forever. Tell us, what is the foundation of this country? In the kind of history you have been teaching us in school to brainwash and manipulate us to not know the truth about this country. You Francophones, do that work. And speak up. This is not time to be quiet, standing on the side and think the Anglophones are crazy, while these evil people manipulate you and manipulate the destiny of your children. You cannot hold people like this and be blessed. You cannot try to infiltrate in people's land. And they are crying like, no, get away. You want to keep coming in. No. This is what our story looked like. So, the Baltic states reflect our story. That is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they reflect our story. These are classic examples that we can cite, reference, and study. Now, what happened? Independent states, legally occupied by the USSR in the 1940s. They restored their independence in 1991 without a referendum. So this is their legal category. Restoration of suspended sovereignty. So this is similar to the southern Cameroons, the Tikar people. So the strongest precedent is illegal annexation. Later, reactivation of proud statehood. That is what we are doing. Restoration of proud statehood. That makes much sense. Now, number 2 is Kuwait with the Iraq's invasion in 1990. So Iraq annexed Kuwait. UN demanded withdrawal and restoration of Kuwait's sovereignty. So the legal category is restoration after illegal occupation. This is synonymous with our story. Clarity. You don't just throw illegal occupation and then you go and quote Sudan. You don't throw illegal occupation and then you go ahead and then you quote Biafra or you quote Eritrea. Clarity. Be congruent with your story. That means the story of dating should be congruent with the story of the Baltic states. I don't use marriage and then I go on to use illegal occupation. I don't use referendum. I don't use the dissolve of the federal union and then I go on to use illegal occupation. I use dating with illegal occupation. Because if you are dating and we break up and you try to infiltrate my territory, I can use that to say this is illegal occupation. If we are married, I can't use illegal occupation because I have a stake in that relationship legally. English. Right? Am I clarifying some of the intellectuals in our community? Fair? Yes. So this is how you make sense of your story. These little glitches matter. They will loop you around in your own problem and you never get out. Now, so Kuwait was restoration after illegal occupation. So they are similar to us. It shows that occupation is not equal to lawful union. sovereignty can simply be reinstated. Fair? Now, Western Sahara is another example. So Spain withdrew in 1975. Morocco occupied without valid treaty. UN still lists it as non-self-governing territory. So incomplete decolonization. So exactly the same UN trusteeship problem, no completion of independence process. Timor, East Timor, a former Portuguese colony, invaded by Indonesia in 1975. UN never recognized annexation, restored independence in 2002. So when we look at the legal category, this is a restoration after illegal annexation. Same thing. So another near preferred analogy, occupation without lawful transfer of sovereignty. So what we see in all of these cases is, when we look at the struggles, secession, divorce, that would be Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Biafra, Nigeria, Kosovo, Serbia. That is, yes, they had to make peace and conduct a referendum for their cessation. That what is appropriate in that context. When we are talking about Eritrea, when we are talking about South Sudan, Biafra, Kosovo, we can use the word referendum, secession in that context. So they are living a valid constituted state. Southern Cameroon is a no. When we are talking about restoration, rectification, deoccupation, we are looking at the Baltic states, Kuwait, West Sahara, Timor-Leste. So with this, when we look at the required permission, they require no permission. No permission needed for them to pursue their cause of restoration. You have independence, you need restoration. So this is the legal logic. So correcting an illegal annexation or incomplete decolonization. Southern Cameroon tick that box. United Kingdoms of Tikar. But now, secession asks to leave a house that was yours and theirs. Restoration simply takes back the house that was always yours. That is the difference. Again, let me repeat. So secession asks the question, you're living in a house that is yours and theirs. That is Southern Cameroons and La Republic. But restoration simply takes back the house that was always yours. Does that make sense? Yeah, so what are the next steps? The next steps are very simple, and I'll just rush through them. So these are the next steps. We have looked at our behavior over time. The energy between Southwest and Northwest. It feels as though most Southwesterners want to be part of La République du Cameroun. We don't want to. And not only that, looking at our ancestry and how far we have come as a people, we want to restore thousands of years of lost memory that makes us the Tikar people that we are, honoring our ancestors. And that is the path we choose. And from every indication, online and offline, it feels as though our brothers from the Southwest love this union with La République du Cameroun, and they want to feel safe. It's like being with the Bamenda man, it feels like a threat, and they want to be safe. So we encourage, if you want to be with La République du Cameroun, do it legally and have a legally binding document with La République du Cameroun. We, the United Kingdoms of Tikar, we want to be a sovereign people, restore our heritage, thousands of years of lost memory. It's an ancestral continuation for us. Fair? If you want to be with La Republic, make sure you have a legally binding document between you and La Republic du Cameroon. That is my advice for those in the Southwest that really love that union with La Republic du Cameroon. For us, we will restore the Tikar heritage. We migrated from Sudan, settled in Bafia to the Highlands, had an amazing civilization that was interrupted by slavery, slave trade, colonialism, and then we were stitched together under Southern Cameroons. We are restoring that. And that is what the ancestors woke me up to. And I had to have clarity on everything that has happened leading up to this place. So that is what we are restoring. That is what we stand for. Now, these are the action steps, my people. Number one is civic awareness, consistent education about a restoration language. Very, very important. The language that we use in this process of restoration, like the federalism, it never existed. Referendum is a no-no. So what is the purpose? So we have to build one and clear message that avoid mixed signals. We don't want any confusion in the process. So number two, boycott and non-cooperation. So we are going to suspend taxes, elections, and administrative collaboration with Yaoundé and its structures. We are going to create local councils to manage essentials in the United Kingdoms of Tikar. So we are going to withdraw, and the purpose of this is to withdraw legitimacy while keeping social order. Number three, we are going to document everything about this mediation. So we will record violations, prepare evidence, and invite neutral mediators so that they see the African Union, the UN, and churches to see this process. It's not something in the hiding. This is what we are pursuing to restore the Tikar heritage. And the purpose, it makes the process transparent and lawful. So the last is humanitarian protection. So we are going to maintain community discipline, protect civilians, allow relief agencies to operate while we go through this process. Fair? So what is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to prevent the conflict from being framed as insurgency. If not, you have some people with mixed feelings that they might want to corrupt or try to destabilize this process. But effective communication, I think, is going to make this clear. We don't need to fight over this. It's uncalled for. Fair? So from there, we are going to transition to trade and customs. Like I said, we will want to do trade and business with La Republique du Cameroon in the long term. Nigeria as well. We want to maintain a business relationship, exchange programs. So education will be something I want us to continue to share ideas in the future. Security and policing, judiciary, right? And cultural diplomacy. There's a lot that we will share in terms of security. There are security challenges in the north that we might share ideas to bring about security and stability in West and Central Africa. And we would love to engage in that as well. Fair? So there's no revenge in this, right? No destruction in this process. And yes to cooperation after separation. So we want it to be transparent as well. This is a logical step to prove to the world that Black people can take responsibility for their future without having some European nation interfere in our business to help fix us. Again, I said it has to start with self-love. Even our Francophone counterparts, brothers, sisters, no matter where you find yourself, both home and abroad, love yourself. Even in the midst of this conflict, I know the tension in this country. Love yourself. When you step out, you see another Black brother. Love that brother. That is why the courage to just pick up a gun and take the life of another is so easy because of self-hate, greed, and corruption from inside. There is a lot we can benefit, produce, trade, make money, have a good life without ending up this way. Self-love. That is the first place. So we do not chase a brother from the yard. We simply mark the boundaries so each can build his own house in peace. That is what we are doing. Don't label it secession or separation. No, this is restoration while we live in harmony. So I hope this message blessed you. Go ahead and share with friends and relatives. Everyone should be engaged. Every Jangi group, every taxi driver union, bike rider union, both home and abroad. Make sure this message circulates. This is the new wind of change that will bring about long-lasting peace and stability in this region. And if the next president gets to be installed in La République du Cameroon, we will continue the work with that president. Fair?